Eddie, you've been running your mouth off far too long. You're going to find out who the governor is.
Time and a place. Let's go.
Eddie Hearn can say what he likes, but he's talking a complete pile of
These older boys, they've got to go and have a sit down.
He hasn't been there. He doesn't understand.
When I saw Frank's desperation in your interview...
We're desperate. Please, come on.
When was the last time Frank Warren was the lead promoter on an American show? Probably 1936.
It's Eddie Hearn, as usual, adding another 6 inches on his nose.
Because what Frank Warren does is just completely ruins any chance of the fight getting made.
His dad done his best to kill British boxing. Walked away from it and left it in a state.
I mean, the hypocrisy is tremendous.
Yeah, do me a favour.
This is a rivalry that runs deep.
There can only be one king.
The Barry Hearn, Frank Warren axis has always been there.
It's a bit of a soap opera for people watching.
Frank Warren was shot last night.
Barry Hearn's entry into boxing, that was 1987. Frank Warren is shot in 1989. And there were reports at the time that he might even die. That was the best break that Barry Hearn ever got.
After all these years, I still want to win every argument with Frank Warren, and I know he feels the same.
Barry then retired and passed the baton to Eddie, and it became Eddie versus Frank.
I'll give every last ounce of my soul to this company.
We want our guys to not get out of their guys.
This is a Matchroom against Queensberry, 5v5.
We were just trying to take over the sport in this country. That was the rivalry. That was how intense it was.
You can find a quote from Frank Warren saying, "If I was his dad, I'd give him a slap."
At times it was awkward to be in the middle of stuff. It was.
The rivalry between the two old boys has always been there, and it will never be any different.
Well, Frank Warren was a very streetwise Islington kid, really.
Barry Hearn, the East End, clever, wide boy, qualified, chartered accountant. They were both hustlers from the streets. They both will admit to you they came from nothing, but they had this vim and vigour and maybe a youthful arrogance about them. And they were going to cross again and again and again.
Police are tonight guarding the intensive care unit at Brook Hospital in Woolwich, where Frank Warren is still critically ill. The gunman fired 2 shots from a semi-automatic pistol before running away.
The shooting of Frank Warren was a colossal shock, not just in the world of boxing, but across British sport, indeed across British culture. And there were reports at the time that he might even die.
In the last few hours, his condition has improved. He's regained consciousness, is breathing normally, and has even spoken to his family.
He had to recover. He lost part of his lung. I think there were reports at the time that he might have lost 14 million. It catapulted his business downwards.
I was out of action for a little while, and he got his foot in the door.
That was the best break that Barry Hearn ever got.
With that space left open, in moved Barry Hearn and his promotional tanks.
There were boxers that drifted away from Frank Warren. Nigel Benn, one of them, was promoted soon afterwards by Barry Hearn in colossal fights, one of them against Chris Eubanks Sr.
Morning. Welcome to Mascals. Let's have a stroll, shall we? I made a few pounds in 1982, but I bought lots of things, and one of the things I bought was Mascals, which was built nearly 300 years ago. It was my family home for 20 years, and obviously when the kids flew the nest, Susan and I decided we needed to move away to somewhere smaller, and it just occurred to me, wouldn't it make the most wonderful head office? This was Eddie's bedroom, which is now occupied by our Chief Executive, Steve Dawson. Good morning, Steve. I have a few friends with me, as always. So this is Eddie's bedroom.
When I first started going to boxing at 8, 9 years old, I was just the little guy that was getting where Walter couldn't. In the changing rooms, carrying belts out for the fighters, trying to get into the ring.
He would be at every show, everywhere. I would take him all over the world, as just as an education, really. I'm not sure if I did him a favour or not, but he fell in love with it.
Growing up, you know, as a silver spoon baby, or whatever you want to call it, that world was exciting to me because I was my father's son, and that's the life that I wanted to live, really.
And he came to see me one day and he said, Dad, I've got to do the box.
Once I experienced it and felt the passion that it gave me versus the passion that everything else I'd done in my professional career to date gave me, there was no turning back.
Well, this is nice. We can see some people in here. Media room with, of course, the greatest media team in the world, needless to say. And a few reminders. Joshua Klitschko, Eubank Ben 2. Well, that was at Old Trafford, but Eubank Ben 1 was still in 1990 the best fight I've ever seen.
The arrival of Chris Eubank Sr. was vital in the survival of Matchroom, the company as a whole.
Eubank scoring well with the jab this round. Oh, late. Oh, this is it. Gone. This is the end of it. Gone. This is the end. This is the end. Referee's got to step in soon. Trying to come back. I think this is a desperate round.
We often talk in boxing about defining fights, and it's the same for promoters. Fights that define them and set them on their path to greater success.
Eubanks has got to take this opportunity. Here we go. It's all over. It's all over.
Suddenly, Barry Hearn was sitting pretty, the boxing king.
He did quite well, but then once I got back into it, I re-established us as being the #1 in boxing, which is what it became.
He's the great survivor. I have to take my hat off to him. The guy's been shot. The guy's had huge financial issues through his life. He's overcome them.
And now making his entrance to the ring, Prince Naseem Hamed.
Naseem Hamed was pivotal in the success through the mid-1990s and the late 1990s of Frank Warren.
We met at my house and we sort of hit it off very, very quickly. And I liked Naz. I mean, he was very young, he was very confident, and I immediately felt that, he had that thing about him that, if he could fight as good as he talked, then he would go places.
Prince Naseem Hamed is now king.
I'm over the moon for him.
What Frank Warren did with Naseem Hamed during the 1990s is very close to the epitome of what every promoter should want to be doing.
We're looking to go to New York on the 19th of December, Madison Square Gardens, and show Naz what the Brits can do, what the Arab world can do. He's going to go out there and he's going to take America by storm.
Naz Hamed, Kevin Kelly, 1997, major moment of triumph and success promotionally for Frank Warren.
I was the first English bloke to put a show on at Madison Square Gardens.
And here comes the Prince.
We did the highest grossing featherweight gate they ever had there, and it was a phenomenal show.
Both guys come out throwing hard shots.
And it was the most exciting fight. He knocked Naz down. He knocked him down a couple of times.
Down he goes again.
And Naz knocked him down a couple of times.
Down goes Kevin Kelly.
It was a bloody exciting fight, and that was quite a memorable moment, and he broke America big time then. Big time.
Down goes Kelly again! They stopped the fight. Naseem Hamed knocked out Kevin Kelly.
Probably some of the best times I had in boxing at that particular moment in time, and it's a sign of what I did so well for him, is that his son has now signed with us.
Thank you. Prince Naseem Hamed, the hands that guided his career for so many years were the hands of Hall of Fame boxing promoter Frank Warren here. And now it's all about the next generation. Young Adam Hamed has joined Queensberry and joined Frank Warren.
So he's sitting here with his son, who I've got to tell you, he's much better looking than he was. When he was his age, much better looking. If he does 1/10 of what his dad does, he's brilliant.
Frank is 1,000,000 times better than Eddie and all of them in this country, and they know that. They're only trying to catch up and trying to be like Frank.
At the time, I think in the 90s, you got the biggest star in terms of the showman, the enigma that is Prince Naseem Hamed. And then you've got the biggest star in terms of bums on seats and ticket sales in Ricky Hatton.
Frank Warren was exemplary in the work that he did with Ricky Hatton in terms of building this colossal, first of all, Manchester appeal and then national UK appeal. Everybody assumes that Joe Calzaghe was always a major star. It was a slow build and it was a great piece of work in terms of promotion by Frank Warren.
He took a gamble with Joe Calzaghe, I've got to say. Joe was a talent, and obviously he was a talent. Obviously he was heading for world honours, but he wasn't a sellable product. And the expertise of Frank Warren and the belief took Joe to the top of the mountain.
It was all about the Queensberry stable, all about Prince Naseem Hamed, all about Ricky Hatton and Joe Calzaghe. It was all about Queensberry.
When Eddie Hearn came on the scene, he gets the obvious thing all the time. You know, you've just been handed the keys to the kingdom, pretty much. Your dad's already done the job for you. But his work ethic, I think, for me, rivaled people like Frank Warren.
I hear the silver spoon thing all the time, but he literally did turn that thing gold.
Eddie set out to be number one.
When he said he wants to do Frotch Rose at Wembley, I went, Wembley? We haven't done a show at Wembley for like 40 years.
Me and Eddie never had a contract. There was a box office fighter who's not under contract. We had a good relationship. My first memory when I think about my career and think about fighting and what I used to do is Goodison Park. All my dreams came true that night. Big part of that is owed to Eddie Hearn.
A key moment in British boxing, and not just for Eddie Hearn and for Matchroom, was the signing of Anthony Joshua.
Delighted to announce that we finally got our man, Anthony Joshua.
If you're a boxer and you don't really have a profile, it's going to be very hard for a promoter to promote you. But then when you put to the scale of somebody that's been to an Olympic Games, it just changes the game completely.
The 2017 fight with Klitschko at Wembley Stadium, wow. Probably one of the greatest events I've been to in my career.
When he beats Klitschko, he's just the biggest name in the world of boxing. He's huge. And Eddie plays a huge part in that because Eddie creates them from scratch.
Not just for Anthony Joshua was it a special night, but for Eddie Hearn, Matchroom and the rest of the team, it was huge.
He's learned from his father and now he's took it on to another level.
Tyson Fury made his miraculous comeback. Around about the same time, Joshua lost to Usyk.
I met Tyson Fury in Monaco to sign him about 5 years ago, and he was 25, 26 stone. And I thought to myself, you will never get back.
Frank Warren took a leap of faith. The way he turned himself around is quite, well, just astounding.
I could see in his eyes that he wanted it, and I thought if I can get him the opportunities, I believe he could win the world title. I genuinely believe that.
It went from Eddie being top of the tree with AJ to Frank and Fury almost taking over.
What was absolutely key here was Eddie Hearn's embracing of the modern media landscape.
Eddie adapted to it straight away and his socials were hitting big numbers.
We were the first person that embraced social media, you know, as promoters in this country, and that was a game changer for us.
Our point around this is that people watch that with the view to actually tuning into fights.
No, I'm not having this. I'm not having this. No.
Oh, go on, man. Social media and the YouTube channels, you know, they benefited us so much, but at the same time, they stirred up the rivalry.
No, he's the kid, he's the saviour of the sport at the moment, and all we've done is bring the sport down.
Imagine spending your whole day thinking about me, and not even in a romantic way.
1 second and I'll show you. Hold that thought.
Over the years, that was their point of contact. If there was a message to be made, if they had an agenda that they wanted to put out there, they would do it through platforms such as ourselves.
Eddie would take a swipe at Frank and then Frank would take a swipe at Eddie and it would be back and forth for years.
It's a bit of a soap opera for people watching.
The fact is, he doesn't know.
Not trying to sound like an arrogant excuse my French, We're delivering big time.
Go and ask them why they do it. I know why they do it. We don't do it. I know why they do it.
You think you're above God?
Not God, just every other promoter in the world.
Over the years, watching Frank and Eddie, the rivalry there, it was just pure entertainment.
Frank is one of the best at applying pressure, trying to break you.
But that's not what he said originally. He said he sent back the contract. What they sent back was full of red lines. And that's the truth of the matter.
They made me question if I had the cojones for this game. And I think now, having passed that test, I get his respect.
Even Frank Warren has accepted that Eddie Hearn has done a quite remarkable job.
Must be like my edition of Face Off here. We've got Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn together. This is good. This is good to see as well for boxing.
They've never met. They've never ever spoken, which is weird.
And the first time I actually met him was at the press conference to the Day of Reckoning, where George introduced us, and then the rest, as they say, is history.
It's funny, look, you know, when you do sit down, that you think how, in some ways how like-minded you are and how you want things to work.
This has never been seen before.
5 versus 5 is the brilliant turn the clock back to the days when things were settled in the car park. So this is going to be a very special night.
2 promotional dynasties in the sport. And it took His Excellency to go, do you know what? Why don't we put those 2 dynasties against each other right now?
It's bragging rights, right? We'll be like, yeah, that 5v5, do you remember who won that?
Frank, same as my old man, same as me, we like to win. And we don't like anyone else to win.
It's more than just bragging rights, it's more than just a gimmick. No, it affects your business.
The thought of losing for either of these is unthinkable.
It's going to be a fabulous night's boxing on a card that has 4 belts on the line.
So a win gets you 1 point. If you win by knockout, you get 2 points. A captain's win is doubled. So if Hamza Shiraz gets a knockout over Amma Williams, not only does he get 2 points, he doubles that to get 4 points. A draw, you don't want to see no draws.
We're still working together on a show, albeit we want our guys to knock out of their guys.
You're going to see me and Frank completely lose our minds at ringside during this fight, and that's what I live and breathe for. So this concept has just invigorated me.
Listen, boys, bring your Kleenex with you.
Winning is everything, always.
Eddie, you've been running your mouth off far too long. You're going to find out who the governor is.
Time and a place. Let's go.
5 of my best.
5 of my best.
June 1st.
On DAZN.
Big Bang Zang.
Bang, bang.
He's in with Bomb Squad.
Deontay Wilder, one of the most devastating punchers in the history of boxing.
That's what I'm known for, knocking your lights out.
Nick Ball. He's nicknamed the Wrecking Ball. This for him is a real tough fight.
Ray Ford, best 126-pounder on the planet.
I'm the world champion for a reason.
I'll see it in the ring.
Willie Hutchinson, do or die for him.
Craig Spider Richards, ready to show out.
I'm going to punch off first, clean him for you.
You are having a bubble bath.
Hamza Shiraz, one of the best young fighters in the world.
Ammo Williams, ready to fight for the world title.
Primal, explosive.
Daniel Dubois, big punching young fighter.
Filip Hrgovic, ready to establish himself as an elite heavyweight.
Right, boys.
This is everything.
We want to win this.
Let's go.